2 years passed. Youre graduated from the Galactic Academy at the top of her class, the first human ever to achieve this honor. She trained with the First Contact course, learning everything she needed to know about alien cultures, languages, and diplomacy. Now she stood on the bridge of a small ship, looking down at a world of storms and shadows. Carvos 9. Her first mission. Surface conditions are severe, reported Lihana from her station at the controls. She was another human, a data analyst who would monitor Youre from orbit. Wind speeds reaching 150 kilometers per hour. Frequent electrical storms. Temperature around -20 degrees. Youre nodded calmly. Sounds like winter in the mountains. Hana laughed. She was from a small town in the north of Korea, where winters were harsh and long. Maybe a bad winter. Be careful down there. I always am. Youre checked her equipment one final time. She wore a simple suit designed for hostile environments, with a translator device in her ear and a communication device on her wrist. She carried no weapons. The First Contact Corps believed that arriving unarmed was the best way to show peaceful intentions. The landing pod carried her down through the clouds. Lightning flashed around her, bright and violent. The wind shook the small craft, trying to push it off course. Youre held tight and waited. When she landed, she stepped out into a world of gray rock and black storms. Rain mixed with ice fell from the sky, stinging her face. The wind tried to push her over, but she leaned into it and kept walking. Her first thought was simple. This is not so bad. Her second thought was, the natives must be very strong to live here. She walked for 3 hours through the storm, following the signals that indicated intelligent life. Her suit kept her warm enough to survive, but her face was cold and her hands were starting to hurt. She ignored the discomfort. Humans were good at ignoring discomfort. Finally, she found them. The natives of Carvos 9 lived in caves carved into the sides of mountains. They were tall beings, covered in thick gray skin that matched the rocks around them. Their eyes were small but bright, designed to see through the constant storms. They had 4 arms, each ending in strong hands with sharp claws. When Youre approached, they did not run. They stood in the mouth of their cave and watched her with those bright little eyes. "Hello," Youre said through her translator. "I come in peace. I want to be friends." The natives did not respond. They stared at her, clearly confused. Youre understood why. She was small. She was soft. She had walked through a storm that should have killed her. She was impossible. One of the natives stepped forward. It was larger than the others, probably a leader. It spoke in a deep, rumbling voice that Youre's translator struggled to interpret. "You walked through the Deathwind," the leader said. "You did not fall. You did not die. What are you?" Youre smiled. Her face hurt from the cold, but she smiled anyway. "I am human. I come from a world called Earth. Your world must be very safe," the leader said, "to make creatures as small and weak as you." Youre laughed. She could not help it. The sound echoed off the cave walls, and the natives stepped back in surprise. "My world is not safe," Youre said. "My world is very dangerous. That is why I did not fall. That is why I did not die." She spread her arms wide. "On my world, we have storms like yours. We have cold like yours. We have danger everywhere. But we survive. We always survive." The leader studied her for a long moment. Then it did something unexpected. It stepped aside and gestured toward the cave. "Come inside," it said. "You are strange. We wish to understand you." Youre walked into the cave. It was warm inside, heated by fires that burned with a strange blue flame. More natives gathered around her, touching her suit, examining her face. asking questions through the translator. She told them about Earth. She told them about the oceans and mountains, the forests and deserts. She told them about hurricanes and earthquakes, about predators and diseases. She told them about human history, the wars and struggles, the triumphs and failures. The natives listened in silence. When she finished, the leader spoke again. "Your world sounds terrible," it said. "Why do you not leave?" Youre thought about this question. She had asked herself the same thing many times. "Because it is our home," she finally said. "Because we love it, even though it tries to kill us. Because we have fought for millions of years to survive there, and we are not going to give up now." The leader made a sound that Youre's translator could not interpret. But something in its posture changed. The hostility faded. The suspicion disappeared. "You are warriors," the leader said. "Not warriors of violence. Warriors of survival." "Yes," Youre said. "That is exactly what we are." The meeting lasted for many hours. By the time Youre returned to her landing pod, she had established the first peaceful contact between Carvos 9 and the galactic community. The natives had agreed to further talks. They wanted to learn more about these strange, impossible creatures called humans. Back on the ship, Hannah was waiting with hot coffee and a warm blanket. 6 hours on the surface, Hannah said, handing Youre the coffee. A new record for Carvos 9. Every other species that tried could not last more than 30 minutes. Youre wrapped the blanket around her shoulders and sipped the coffee. It tasted like home. "They are not that different from us," she said. "They live in a harsh world. They fight to survive every day. They understand struggle." She smiled. "They respected us because we struggle too." Hannah nodded. "The galaxy is starting to understand what humans really are. We are not weak. We are not fragile. We are survivors from a death world." Youre looked out the window at the storms still raging on Carvos 9. Somewhere down there, the natives were probably talking about her. The small, soft creature who walked through the death wind like it was nothing. She thought about her grandmother in Bizon, still tending her garden at 85 years old. She thought about her brother Jihoon, still jumping out of airplanes every weekend. She thought about every human who had ever faced impossible odds and refused to give up. The galaxy had called them fragile. The galaxy had called them weak. The galaxy had underestimated them. And now the galaxy was learning the truth. Humans were survivors. They had been fighting to live since the first humans stood up on 2 legs and looked at the dangerous world around them. They had faced predators and disasters, wars and plagues, and they had survived everything. And now they were reaching for the stars. Youre finished her coffee and stood up. She had more missions waiting, more worlds to visit, more species to meet. "Set course for home," she told Hannah. "We need to report our success." Hannah nodded and started the engines. The ship rose above the storms of Carvos 9 and flew toward the distant stars. Youre watched the planet disappear behind them. She felt proud. Proud of herself. Proud of her species. Proud of every human who had ever refused to give up. The universe was vast and dangerous. But so was Earth, and humans had conquered Earth. Now they would show the galaxy what Deathworld survivors could really do. This was just the beginning. News of Youre's survival simulation spread across the galaxy like fire. Within days, every news channel was talking about the human who had walked through a Deathworld environment like it was a pleasant garden. Reporters tried to interview her. Scientists sent hundreds of requests to study her. Military commanders from a dozen different species wanted to meet this impossible creature from an impossible world. Youre ignored most of them. She had classes to attend and exams to pass. Being famous did not change the fact that she needed good grades to graduate, but the academy would not let her hide. They assigned her to a special research program where scientists could study her in a controlled environment. Every morning, before her classes, she had to spend 2 hours in a medical laboratory. The scientists were amazed by everything they found. "Your bone density," Dr. Vell said one morning, staring at his scanner in disbelief. "It is incredible. You could survive falls that would shatter the skeletons of most species." Youre shrugged. "Humans fall down a lot when we are children. We learn to walk by falling. Our bones heal and grow stronger." Dr. Vell made a note in his records. He was a small creature with thin arms and large eyes, designed for precise medical work on his gentle homeworld. Youre was his first Deathworld patient. "What about your immune system?" he asked. "Our tests show that your body contains billions of specialized cells that actively hunt and destroy foreign organisms." "White blood cells," Youre said. "They fight infections. Every human has them." "But the efficiency," Vell said. "The aggression. Your immune system is like a tiny army living inside your body. It attacks anything it does not recognize. Sometimes it attacks things it should not," Youre admitted. "We call those allergies. My brother Jihoon is allergic to peanuts. They make his throat close up." Vell's eyes went wide. "Your own body tries to kill you? Because of food?" "Only certain foods. And only some people. Most of us can eat peanuts without problems." The doctor needed a moment to process this information. Youre waited patiently. She was getting used to watching aliens have small mental breakdowns. When learning about human biology, the tests continued for weeks. The scientists discovered that humans could survive extreme temperature ranges, consume mild poisons without dying, heal from injuries that would be fatal to other species, and function normally even when deprived of sleep for days. "Your species is terrifying," Dr. Vell finally admitted. "Every system in your body is designed for survival in hostile conditions. Your muscles can generate incredible force when you are scared or angry. Your senses can detect subtle changes in your environment. Your brain can make split-second decisions in life or death situations. We call it the fight-or-flight response," Youre explained. "When we are in danger, our bodies prepare us to either fight back or run away. Both options assume you have a chance of survival," Vell said. "Most species simply freeze when faced with danger. Their bodies shut down. They wait to die. Humans do not like waiting to die," Youre said. "We would rather try something, even if it probably will not work." On the 4th week of testing, Commander Yoon Do-yoon arrived at the academy. Youre had heard about him, but never met him. He was Earth's military representative to the galactic community, one of the few humans with enough authority to travel between worlds. He was tall, with short black hair and serious eyes. He wore a simple uniform with Earth's flag on the shoulder. "Cadet Kim," he said when they were finally introduced. "I have heard a lot about you." "Commander Yoon," Youre replied. She stood straight, trying to look professional. "I hope I have not caused too much trouble." Do-hyun smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it made his face look less serious. "You have caused exactly the right amount of trouble. You have reminded the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated." They sat in a private room, away from the scientists and their endless questions. Do-hyun had brought coffee from Earth, real coffee, and Youre almost cried when she tasted it. "I have been reading the reports about your survival test," Do-hyun said. "Impressive. You made a Class 7 environment look like a vacation." "It was not that hard," Youre said. "The simulation did not include anything really dangerous. No bears, no wolves, no snakes, no poisonous plants. It was like camping for children." Do-hyun nodded. "That is exactly why I am here. High Command has a proposal for you." He placed a small device on the table and activated a holographic display. It showed a distant planet, rocky and covered in storms. This is Carvos 9, Youre explained. An uncontacted world. Our sensors have detected signs of intelligent life, but we have not been able to make contact. The environment is too dangerous. Every species that has tried to land on the surface has failed. Failed how? Youre asked. Their landing parties panicked. The storms, the terrain, the wildlife. It was too much. They could not function. Youre looked at the image of Carvos 9. It did look unpleasant. But compared to some of the places she had seen on Earth, it was not that different. What does High Command want me to do? She asked. We are creating a new division, Youre said. The First Contact Course. Humans who can land on dangerous worlds and make peaceful contact with new species. We believe that humans, with our unique background, are perfectly suited for this work. Youre thought about this. She thought about her family back in Bizen. She thought about her grandmother, who had survived a war and still planted vegetables every spring. She thought about her brother, who jumped out of airplanes for fun. Humans were survivors. They had spent millions of years learning how to live on a death world. They had fought wars, survived disasters, and built civilizations in the most hostile environments imaginable. Now the galaxy was asking them to use those skills to help others. What would I have to do? Youre asked. Finish your education first, Youre said. Graduate from the academy. Then join the course. We will train you in diplomacy, alien languages, and first contact protocols. He paused. And we will send you to worlds that would kill anyone else. Youre smiled. That sounds like a challenge. It is the biggest challenge in the galaxy, Youre agreed. But if anyone can do it, humans can. He stood up and offered his hand. Youre took it. His grip was strong and warm, the grip of another human, another survivor from their beautiful, deadly world. Welcome to the First Contact Course, Cadet Kim, Youre said. Earth is counting on you. Youre felt something growing in her chest. Pride, maybe. Or excitement. Or both. She was human. She was from a death world. And now she had a mission that mattered. She was going to show the galaxy what her species could do. When do I start? She asked. Youre smiled again, and this time the smile reached his eyes. You already have. The Academy board stared at Kim Youre like she had grown a second head. 12 different species. 12 different expressions of pure fear and confusion. The room was cold, but Youre did not mind. She had experienced colder winters back in Korea. Board member Talus spoke first. He was a Mendori, which meant he looked like a floating jellyfish with dozens of thin tentacles. His body glowed soft pink when he was calm, but right now he was flashing bright red. Cadet Kim, Talus said, you claim that your home planet experiences all of the characteristics of a Class 7 death world. Is this correct? Yes, Youre said. And you claim that your species not only survives these conditions, but considers them normal? Yes, Youre said again. Talus turned to the other board members. This is impossible. Our survey teams visited Earth. They reported a Class 3 world. Pleasant temperatures. Minimal threats. Another board member spoke up. This was Director Voss, a tall creature covered in gray scales. When exactly did we conduct this survey? A holographic display appeared, showing records. 37 standard years ago, someone read. The survey team spent 6 hours on the surface in a region called Switzerland. Youre laughed. She could not help it. Everyone stared at her. Switzerland, she said, still smiling. Of course they chose Switzerland. One of the safest, calmest places on the entire planet. She shook her head. If they had landed in the Amazon, or the Sahara, or the Australian outback, they would have run away screaming. Director Voss leaned forward. Explain. Youre thought about where to start. Earth is not one environment. It is many. We have frozen lands where the temperature drops to -50 degrees. We have deserts where it reaches 50 degrees above zero. We have rainforests where it rains every single day. We have oceans filled with creatures that can kill you in seconds. She pulled out her personal device. May I show you some images? The board members nodded nervously. Youre connected her device to the holographic display. The first image appeared, a massive hurricane seen from space, swirling across the ocean toward a coastline. This is called a typhoon, Youre explained. They happen every year. Wind speeds can reach 300 kilometers per hour. They destroy entire cities. Board member Rilla, a small creature with large ears and trembling whiskers, made a high-pitched sound of distress. Every year? And your species stays on the planet? Where else would we go? Youre asked. She changed the image. Now it showed a volcanic eruption, with rivers of glowing lava flowing down a mountainside. This is a volcano. The ground opens up and melts. Hot liquid rock pours out and burns everything it touches. We have thousands of these on Earth. Some people actually live near them because the soil is good for farming. Director Voss stood up so fast that his chair fell over. They live near the exploding mountains? On purpose? The soil is very rich, Youre said simply. She changed the image again. This time, it showed a great white shark, its mouth open wide, rows of sharp teeth visible. This is a shark. It lives in the ocean. It can smell blood from kilometers away. It has been killing things for millions of years. She paused. Humans swim in the same water. For fun. 2 board members left the room. Youre could hear them being sick in the hallway. She continued showing images. Earthquakes that had destroyed cities. Floods that had covered entire regions in water. Wildfires that had burned for months. Tornadoes that had lifted houses into the sky. With each image, more board members looked like they wanted to flee. But surely, Talus said. His tentacles now a pale white color. Surely your species takes precautions. You hide from these dangers? Youre considered this. Sometimes. But mostly we just live with them. She changed the image to show a busy street in Seoul during a rainstorm. People walked under umbrellas, completely calm. Cars drove through puddles. Children splashed in the water. This is a normal day in my city, she said. Water is falling from the sky. Nobody cares. Water falling from the sky, Director Voss repeated slowly. Random water. Unpredictable water. And your people walk through it like it is nothing. We even have a word for when water falls while the sun is still shining, Youre said. We call it a sun shower. Children love it. Director Voss sat back down. His scales had turned from gray to white. Cadet Kim, I need to ask you something personal. You mentioned your childhood. What was it like growing up on this Deathworld? Youre smiled. She thought about her home in Bizen, the small apartment where she lived with her mother and brother, the school she attended, the friends she made. It was nice, she said. Normal. I walked to school every day, even in winter when the snow was deep. I played outside with my friends during summer, even when it was very hot. I learned to swim in the ocean near my house. She paused. My grandmother used to tell me stories about when she was young. During the war. War? Talus asked. What war? Youre realized they did not know. Of course they did not know. The survey team had not stayed long enough to learn about human history. Humans fight wars, she explained. We fight against each other. With weapons. The room went completely silent. My grandmother was 7 years old when the Korean War started, Youre continued. For 3 years, humans dropped explosives on each other. Millions of people died. Cities were destroyed. My grandmother lost her parents, her home, everything. She looked at the board members. She is 83 years old now. She still grows vegetables in her garden every spring. Board member Rilla collapsed. Medical drones were summoned again. Director Voss's voice was barely a whisper. Your species harms itself? Deliberately? We've been doing it for thousands of years, Youre said. We've had many wars. Some lasted for decades. Some killed tens of millions. She shrugged. We're still here. The board members looked at each other. Youre could see them communicating silently, probably through some kind of neural link. She waited patiently. Finally, Director Voss spoke. Cadet Kim, we need to reclassify Earth. Based on what you have told us, it should never have been listed as Class 3. It should be Class 7, possibly higher. Youre nodded. That sounds correct. We also need to reclassify your species. Voss paused. We do not have a classification for beings that evolve on Deathworlds, because it should be impossible. And yet here I am, Youre said. She stood up and gathered her bag. If you have no more questions, I would like to return to my classes. I have a physics exam tomorrow. The board members stared at her in disbelief. You have just told us that your species survives impossible conditions, Tallis said. That you come from a world of constant death and destruction. And you want to go study for an exam? Youre paused at the door. She looked back at them with a small smile. Professor Kell gave us a lot of homework, she said. Deathworld or not, I still need to pass my classes. She left the room, leaving 12 terrified board members behind. As she walked back through the academy halls, Youre noticed that word had already spread. Students pressed themselves against walls when she passed. Whispers followed her everywhere. She heard fragments of conversations. Did you hear? Her planet has exploding mountains. They swim with the sharks. For fun. Her grandmother survived something called a war. Youre kept walking. She had a physics exam to study for, and nothing in the galaxy was going to stop her from getting a good grade. She was human after all. This was what they did. They survived. They adapted. They kept moving forward. No matter what. It was the only way they knew how to live. 2 weeks after Youre's meeting with the Academy Board, the scientists arrived. They came from all corners of the galaxy, hundreds of them, each one desperate to study the impossible creature from the impossible world. Youre was patient. She answered their questions. She let them scan her body with strange machines. She told them stories about Earth while they recorded every word. But the scientists wanted more than stories. They wanted proof. We have designed a test, Director Voss announced at a special assembly. A survival simulation based on Earth's moderate conditions. Any student who wishes to participate may volunteer. Youre raised an eyebrow. Moderate conditions? Yes, Voss said. Nothing extreme. Just a standard Earth forest environment. Average temperatures. Common wildlife. Typical weather patterns. 12 students volunteered alongside Youre. They came from some of the strongest species in the galaxy. They wanted to prove that humans were not special. They wanted to show that anyone could survive on Earth. They were wrong. The simulation chamber was enormous. It could create any environment from any world in the known galaxy. The scientists had spent 2 weeks programming it with data from Earth, trying to recreate a simple forest in a place called Korea. Youre recognized it immediately when she stepped inside. Pine trees rose tall around her. The air smelled like home. Birds sang in the branches above. A small stream ran through the middle of the area. Clear water flowing over smooth stones. This is beautiful, she said softly. The other volunteers did not agree. It is too bright, complained Cadet Mira. A vellum with large black eyes designed for darkness. The light from the sky is hurting my vision. That is called sunlight, Youre said. Your eyes will adjust. The air smells strange, said Cadet Bro, a massive creature from a high-gravity world. He had volunteered because his species was known for being tough. What is that smell? Trees, Youre said. Flowers. Living things. This is what nature smells like. The simulation began. The scientists watched from a control room above, recording everything. For the first hour, things went poorly. The volunteers stumbled through the forest, jumping at every sound. A squirrel ran across a branch, and 3 students screamed. What was that? Myra demanded. A squirrel, Youre said. It eats nuts. It is harmless. It moves so fast, another student whispered. How can something so small move so fast? Youre did not know how to answer. To her, the squirrel was slow. She had seen cats move faster than that dot. They walked deeper into the forest. The simulation was designed to last 72 hours. Youre thought that would be easy. She had gone camping for longer than that many times. Then the other volunteers discovered the stream. There is liquid everywhere, Cadet Trin said, backing away from the water. It is just sitting there, open, uncontained. It is a stream, Youre explained. Fresh water. You can drink it. Trin looked at her with horror. Drink it? Directly? Without processing? Without purification. Youre knelt by the stream and cupped water in her hands. She drank it while the others watched with their mouths open. It was cold and clean, exactly like the stream she remembered from hiking with her father. Humans do this, she said. We drink from streams and rivers. Sometimes we even swim in them. Cadet Brell made a choking sound. You put your entire body in unpurified liquid. How else would we swim? 20 hours into the simulation, Myra spotted something through the trees. There is a creature, she hissed, grabbing Yuna's arm. It is watching us. I can see its eyes. Yuna looked. A deer stood about 50 meters away, calmly eating leaves from a low branch. It was a female, brown and gentle, not even close to dangerous. That is a deer, Yuna said. It eats plants. But look at its legs, Myra said. It could run faster than any of us. And those things on its head. Females do not have antlers, Yuna said. Only males do. And antlers are for fighting other males, not for attacking people. Myra did not look convinced. She spent the next 3 hours hiding behind a rock, watching the deer until it finally wandered away. Then the rain came down. It started slowly. Just a few drops falling through the leaves. But within minutes, it had become a proper shower. Water poured down from the sky, soaking everything. 5 volunteers activated their emergency beacons immediately. What is happening? Cadet Noel screamed. The sky is leaking. The water is attacking us. It is rain, Yuna said calmly. She stood in the middle of the downpour, letting the water run down her face. It happens all the time on Earth. It is how plants get water. But we are getting wet, Noel said. Our bodies are becoming covered in liquid. Yes, Yuna said. You will dry later. It is not dangerous. Noel did not believe her. He and 4 others left the simulation, shaking and terrified. The remaining volunteers tried to continue. But then the sun went down and darkness came. Yuna had never thought of night as scary. On Earth, night was normal. It happened every day. You lit a fire or turned on a light, and you kept going. But the alien volunteers had never experienced true darkness before. Their worlds had constant light, or their species could see in the dark. Here, in the simulation of an Earth forest at night, they were blind. I cannot see anything, Brawl said. His voice was shaking. How do humans survive this? We build fires, Yuna said. Or we use lights. Or we just go to sleep and wait for morning. Sleep? In the darkness? While predators could be watching. Youre gathered some dry wood and started a fire. The orange light pushed back the shadows, and the volunteers gathered around it like it was their only hope of survival. Then the mosquitoes came. Youre barely noticed them at first. A few buzzing sounds near her ear. A couple of small bites on her arm. Nothing unusual. She swatted them away without thinking. Brel was not so calm. "Something is biting me," he roared. "Small creatures are consuming my fluids." He jumped up and started running in circles, slapping at his arms and legs. The other volunteers watched in horror as tiny insects landed on their skin and began to feed. "These are mosquitoes," Youre said, still sitting calmly by the fire. "They drink a tiny amount of blood. It itches a little, but it is not dangerous." "Parasites," Brel screamed. "Airborne parasites are draining my life force." He activated his emergency beacon and was extracted from the simulation within seconds. One by one, the others followed. The combination of rain, darkness, unfamiliar sounds, and blood-drinking insects was too much. By the morning of the second day, Youre was alone. She spent the remaining 52 hours of the simulation in complete comfort. She built a shelter from branches and leaves. She caught fish from the stream and cooked them over her fire. She found berries and mushrooms that she recognized from her childhood camping trips. When the simulation ended, she walked out looking refreshed and relaxed. The scientists were waiting for her. Their faces showed a mixture of awe and terror. "Cadet Kim," Director Voss said slowly. Every other volunteer fled in fear. "Most of them are still receiving psychological treatment. But you look like you just returned from a vacation." Youre smiled. "It was nice. Very peaceful. Actually, it was easier than real camping on Earth. You did not include any bears. Or snakes, or poison ivy." Director Voss's scales turned white again. "There are worse things than what we simulated?" "Much worse," Youre said. "This was like a children's camping trip. Very safe. Very easy." She walked past the shocked scientists, heading back to her room. She wanted to take a shower and study for her chemistry exam. Behind her, she heard Director Voss give an order to his team. "Increase the classification," he said. "Earth is now Class 8, the highest ever recorded." Youre kept walking. She was human. She was from a Deathworld, and she had homework to do. The lecture hall was massive. It could hold 500 students from dozens of different species. The seats rose up like stairs in a giant circle, and at the center stood a floating platform where the professor would teach. Lights in soft blue and white hung from the ceiling, which was so high that Youre could barely see it. Kim Youre sat in the back row, alone. She preferred it that way. After 3 months at the Galactic Academy, she had learned that the other students did not want to sit near her. They were not mean about it. They were just scared. She was human. She was the only human in this class. In fact, she was one of only 12 humans at the entire academy. Earth had only made contact with the galactic community 2 years ago. Humans were still new. They were still strange. And apparently, they were still terrifying. Youre did not understand why. She was small compared to most species here. She had no claws, no armor, no poison. She could not see in the dark like the Vellum. She could not breathe underwater like the Fossins. She was just a girl from Bizon who had studied hard enough to earn a spot at the best school in the galaxy. But the other students looked at her like she was a monster. The lights dimmed, and Professor Kell floated onto the central platform. He was a Taurian, which meant he looked like a tall, thin insect with 4 arms and large golden eyes. His voice was soft and musical when he spoke, and his translator device made sure everyone could understand him. "Good morning, students," Professor Kell said. Today we will discuss something very important. Today we will learn about Deathworlds. Youre leaned forward in her seat. She had heard this term before, but did not know what it meant. The professor waved one of his arms, and a hologram appeared above the platform. It showed a planet covered in fire and smoke. Volcanoes exploded across its surface. The sky was dark with ash. A Deathworld, Professor Kell explained, is a planet where intelligent life cannot develop. The conditions are too extreme, too dangerous, too deadly. He changed the image. Now the hologram showed a world covered in ice. Storms raged across its frozen surface. The wind looked strong enough to tear apart buildings. We classify planets by danger level, the professor continued. Class 1 is safe. Class 2 has minor risks. Class 3 has moderate dangers. He paused. Class 7 is the highest. Class 7 planets are Deathworlds. No known species has ever evolved on a Class 7 world. Youre noticed that several students around her were trembling. A small creature with blue fur had covered its eyes. A tall being with 6 legs was gripping its desk so hard that the metal was bending. Professor Kell changed the hologram again. This time, it showed a list of characteristics. Let me describe what makes a Class 7 Deathworld, he said. First, extreme temperature changes. The planet experiences both burning heat and freezing cold, sometimes in the same location within a single rotation. Youre tilted her head. That sounded familiar. Second, the presence of electrical storms. Massive amounts of energy falling from the sky at random intervals. Lightning, Youre thought. He was describing lightning. Third, a high concentration of predators. Animals designed to kill and consume other living things. Some can run at speeds over 40 kilometers per hour. Youre thought about the dogs in her neighborhood back home. Some of them could definitely run that fast. Fourth, unstable geology. The ground itself moves and breaks apart. Mountains can explode with molten rock. Earthquakes and volcanoes. Korea had those sometimes. Fifth, water that falls from the sky in unpredictable patterns, often carrying dangerous chemicals and causing rapid temperature drops. Rain. He was describing rain. Sixth, an atmosphere filled with invisible pathogens. Tiny organisms that invade living bodies and cause disease. Millions of different types, constantly evolving to become more deadly. Youre felt a cold feeling in her stomach. She raised her hand. Professor Kell stopped speaking. His 4 golden eyes turned toward her. The entire lecture hall went silent. 300 students turned to look at the human in the back row. Yes, Cadet Kim? The professor asked. Youre stood up slowly. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her voice calm. Professor, she said, please stop. You are describing my childhood. The silence that followed was complete. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Professor Kell's translator made a strange clicking sound, like it was trying to process her words and failing. I am sorry, Cadet Kim, the professor finally said. Did you say childhood? Youre nodded. Yes, everything you just described. The temperature changes, the electrical storms, the predators, the unstable ground, the water from the sky, the pathogens. She paused. That is Earth. That is where I grew up. A student in the front row fainted. Medical drones immediately flew down from the ceiling to help. Professor Kell's 4 arms were shaking. Cadet Kim, Earth is classified as a Class 3 world. Minor dangers. I have seen the surveys myself. Then your surveys are wrong, Youre said simply. The lecture hall erupted. Students were screaming, crying, trying to run for the exits. Professor Kell was calling for order, but nobody was listening. Youre watched all of this with confusion on her face. She did not understand. Why were they so scared? Everything she had described was normal. Everyone on Earth lived with these things. Children played outside during summer, even though the temperature could reach 40 degrees. People walked in the rain without protection. Families went camping in forests filled with bears and wolves and snakes. It was just life. It was just Earth. A security officer appeared next to Youre. He was a Foshan, which meant he looked like a large fish that had learned to walk on land. His scales were dark green, and his eyes were wide with fear. "Cadet Kim," he said, his voice trembling, "you need to come with me. The Academy Board wants to speak with you immediately." Youre gathered her bag and followed him. As she walked down the stairs toward the exit, she noticed that other students were pressing themselves against the walls to avoid getting close to her. One small creature actually hid under its desk. She thought about her mother back in Bizin. She thought about her brother, Jihoon, who liked to go hiking in the mountains every weekend. She thought about her grandmother, who had survived a war and still woke up every morning to tend her garden. If these aliens thought Earth was dangerous, what would they think about actual humans? Youre did not know the answer, but she had a feeling she was about to find out. The security officer led her through long, white hallways to a large door marked Academy Board, Authorized Personnel Only. He pressed his hand to a scanner, and the door slid open. Inside, 12 beings sat around a curved table. They represented 12 different species, and they all looked terrified. "Cadet Kim Youre," one of them said. "Please, sit down. We have many questions." Youre sat in the chair they offered her. It was too big for her human body, but she did not complain. "Ask your questions," she said. "I will answer them honestly." The board members looked at each other. Then, slowly, one of them activated a holographic display showing Earth. "Tell us," the board member whispered. "Tell us about your world." Youre looked at the image of her home planet. The blue oceans, the green continents, the white clouds swirling across its surface. She smiled. "Where should I begin?"